Nacho's vlog.
It's barren now.
We're
this
Bible
rock.
students.
Then you know.
So
The Supreme Court of Athens was there initially. But in the year 51 after the birth of Christ, Saint Paul, the apostle, arrived in this court to deliver his famous lecture on the unknown God. In chapter 13, 14 in the Acts of the Apostles, you can read about his speech. The first Athenians to become a Christian were two. A woman called Damaris, that she's not very often mentioned, because she's a woman, I guess, and the judge, Dionysius the Areopagite. He's the patron saint of Athens ever since. So on Sunday mornings, you cannot imagine how many people arrive here at 8 o'clock a.m. Instead of going to the church for the Mass, with a little Bible, we hear hymns and they conduct a little service, a little prayer there. So the biggest Christian landmark in Athens is opposite the Acropolis, and it's out there, and it's called Mars Hill, or in Greek way, Areospagos. And then you see the church of Santa Marina with the red mushroom domes over there, going, you know, counterclockwise. Then you see the building with the black dome, the observatory station of Athens. Underneath there, we discovered the police station in the classical period. The silver domed is the old observatory. And then to the left, where I see some people seated, is the cradle of democracy. You see an amphitheater with green grass, without seats cut in, because the subject of politics was so exciting that people could not get seated. And on top of this amphitheater, where the group is, behind them are 3 steps cut out of the rock, correct? That's where the great orators of Athens stood, like Demosthenes, Pericles, to speak to the public.
so this
The Pnyx.
which century would this have been?
5th century BC. All what we see here, except for the Herodion, which was Roman, is of the golden age of Athens. Because then was the money that Pericles spent for public buildings. Off the record, there was a big staircase, excuse me, from wall, going down this way to the ticket booth and up this way to this gatehouse. Do you see, please, that the central portion here had a ramp for the disabled, or the wounded who could not bend their knees? And we had so many people with venereals, they had big problems. But they took care, they wanted everyone to access, even the disabled.
There's Nike's temple.
The Athenians clipped down their wings.
There's the gate to the Acropolis.
And because of the this has never been surpassed as an achievement in the world
Wow,
so
15
far.
years.
Only 15. That's why it has inspired most federal buildings in the States. The years are 447 BC, 430 before Christ. Who built them? That's the crucial question. The slaves, stone masons, the middle class. Because the slaves, Pericles, decided to send them to Mount Pendeli, to the quarries, to do the rough cutting of the stones. And here, he put the equivalent today would have been those having at least one master's degree. No, the engineers, the architects, the craftsmen, people with the skills who could work with speed and precision. Didn't blend them with the slaves to end up with jobs like we do in Greece. Rave xylone, full of mistakes. You correct one and 10 others are sprouting. So, it's the only building to be built of this caliber on earth, to be built in such a short time and so perfect. No wonder why Pericles is considered considered by the Harvard University professors, like Professor Kaplan, who teaches marketing at Harvard. Pericles is considered to be the father for TQM, Total Quality Management Control. TQM. And the third reason is the Periclean standardization. Before Pericles, to give you a paradigm, an example, columns did not have specifications. You could have one column on a temple with 20 ribs, and the next 18, and the other 25, and 26, and 19, and according to how much wine the slave was consuming on the scaffolding, or what song he was wasting. No, Pericles. Pericles. With his engineers, Ictinos, Callicrates, Phidias, standardized the Doric and the Ionic styles. From now on, the Doric columns should get the 20 flutings, they all have 20, all of them, and the Ionic columns with the scrolls at the top, the 24 flutings. You see what I'm saying?
The Corinthian
No Corinthian.
column came
yeah.
later. No, of course, because
It was created for the house of the Corinthian courtesans. Those were Puritans, the Athenians. Would have never used Corinthian. The Romans adopted these columns, and a lot of people by mistake think it is a Roman style, but it's a Greek
it's
style.
actually Greek. I was
So-
about to say, isn't that a later Roman? And you're saying no, it isn't.
No, it's Greek. That's why it's
Yes,
called
Doric,
not
of
Roman,
course.
Corinthian.
Yeah.
And
Doric.
Doric, the
Ionic.
masculine, just like the Lincoln Memorial, just like the Stock Exchange Market building in Wall Street, New York. Ionic are never used in the New World for federal buildings, rather for villas. Like the mansions you see in the south of the United States, the cotton plantations have the Ionic columns. And we have an exception to the rule, with the balcony having 6 women statues instead of columns holding up the edifice. These are the famous caryatids, curves.
Wow.
And that makes the restoration now more difficult.
Sure.
And this is successively transmitted up to the columns and the roof.
So they wanted the appearance of straightness, and they were smart enough to know that to get the appearance,
they knew
had
about
to, perspective.
Besides, this is adding strength to the building. We build bridges.
Yes.
These help the drainage of the rainwater in the winter. We build golf courses this way and the roads this way.
Yes.
And overall beauty aesthetics. Who cares about beauty? Today we care for high profits, low cost. Are wider below, narrower above. Taper. But at the same time they are tilted in. Do you see, please, the metallic
Hey guys, look at me.
scaffolding set up with right angles,
Right
90
on the edge of
degrees.
that column with the metal.
That the colonnade
Oh, yeah.
leans away from it. If you extend these columns in your mind, they are going to intersect 1 mile up like a tall, slim tall. You see what I mean? And the columns, one by one, look at those against the sky, have a little belly that bulges out, like the Coke bottle, like the Perrier, to make them look straight-edged. That's why it is the most perfect temple of classical architecture. Are stolen, they are in London, the British.
Aren't they being forced to return them now?
Yes, but in the way our economy is, we are so weak. It's the Roman temple to Zeus or Jupiter. And this was built by Hadrian in Corinthian style of Greek architecture.